Episode 2 of the Craft Impact Marketing Podcast. And like we mentioned in episode 1, we are starting a podcast in 2025 as a marketing agency because we want to be on the cutting edge. Not sure if you guys have heard of podcasts yet. They are coming out soon, to a app near you, and fully encourage you to start downloading these. In all seriousness, though, we started a podcast not really to start a podcast that gets downloads, but as a means to content creation. And so for us, we look at it as a way that we can produce a lot of content in a very short amount of time. We've helped clients do this. We've seen clients who've already been doing this, that we've helped them amplify kind of their results with the podcast. And so yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit, Faustin, about, what the best results that we've seen from this, what the clients who are really smart about video marketing and podcasting are doing, and kind of what other financial advisory firms can learn, especially those who may be newer into it or have thought about it but haven't been able to pull the trigger yet.
Yeah, nice. I would say the number one reason we decided to start a podcast is just putting some sort of system behind your content creation, right? And when we have advisors come to us, most of them understand the power of content marketing. They understand they should be on video. They understand they should be doing some sort of social post, but they do it sort of ad hoc, right? They do it when they have an idea and they can execute for that day or that week. They do it on a monthly basis when they think they have some sort of blog post that they like to write about and that they can send out to clients. But they don't have the consistent system to develop and publish content on a regular basis, which is what is needed in 2025 to differentiate you as a firm from all the other firms, from all the other information that your prospects are getting bombarded with on a day to day basis. It's really the only way that you can stand out, not by just having a monthly newsletter, but by consistently showing up in your prospects' feeds, by consistently putting yourself out there, whether through video or audio or on your website. And so podcasts give you that ability, especially with the rise of AI a couple of years ago, where if you create a system where you are consistently, let's say on a weekly basis, getting on a camera, recording in a particular tool, video and audio, you can then take that audio and video and repurpose it across multiple channels, right? You can take the full video, like what we're doing right now, and publish it on YouTube, right? So now you have a full YouTube video that's up there. You can publish it across all the audio platforms using a tool like Libsyn is something that we have some of our clients using that right away pushes out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the different RSS feeds that carry podcasts. Then you can take the transcript from your full clip of the podcast, repurpose that as multiple blog posts that you can publish on your website. You can take shorter clips from the full video recording and publish those clips as smaller social clips that you can spread out and distribute across multiple weeks. So now that 45, 60-minute session that you have on your calendar, right, for marketing, where you're going to record a podcast, you can then clip that up and get so much mileage out of it for the next few weeks. And we just feel like it's such a good way that like fits into the way advisors operate on a day-to-day basis as well, right? Because everyone sees their day in terms of blocks, and a lot of advisors will compartmentalize marketing. They see that podcast on their calendar, they can get a plan together for it, which we also help with, and then they know they can take that marketing time and we can get a lot of mileage out of it as we distribute it across all their different channels. Stephen, does this kind of resonate with you in terms of like what people are asking about too when they come into the sales conversations, when they want to learn a little bit more about craft?
Yeah, I love it. Let's use a cheesy, corporate meetings term. Let me double click on that, on something that you just said. I'm going to try to weave those in throughout this show just so everybody knows. Well, let's double click on the consistent system that you mentioned, because I think that's really important how we set that up, right? It's like you do want to have a consistent system. You need to, I mean, in our experience, the ones that have stuck with this for, months, years, have seen really great results. The ones that are kind of one and done or tried it a little bit, haven't seen anything in return and then stop, right? Those are the ones that just, they don't show any ROI from it. But I think it's really important to set up, like you just mentioned, I don't know, 15 things you can do with a video clip, from one 45-minute session. I think it's really important to set up a couple things. One would be like kind of the goal, or like what are you trying to, what's the primary goal that you're trying to get out of the podcast? And just to give some ideas, it would be you could just choose one of these four buckets: brand awareness, thought leadership, lead generation, or customer engagement. And you can kind of mix and match those if you want. For us personally, I think we've got a couple mix and match there where we're not looking at this as a lead generation podcast. We're looking at it from brand awareness and thought leadership primarily. And then as a kind of tertiary benefit, maybe some of our clients will see this or hear this or kind of read this content that we're audibly speaking that's going to turn into written content. And it might spark ideas, right? So I think like one would be set up the goal, kind of what you're trying to accomplish with it, even if it's just a an idea of what success could look like. And then two would be the channels, like have pay a little bit for a consultant or a strategist, or have a roundtable with your leadership team and really think about, okay, here are the channels that we want to redistribute this content to, because half of it is recording the stuff and kind of figuring out the topic and then getting in and recording it. And honestly, the other half is distribution. So you've got to pick social media channels. Are these clips or videos going out into emails? Are they going on your website? Are you going to, like, how are you going to use these, and what's the cadence as well? So if, let's say it's LinkedIn, we use LinkedIn a lot for our clients. A podcast or a video podcast are very common ways for us to gather a lot of content and then redistribute them, on a weekly basis. And so, how many times are we posting on LinkedIn? Is everyone going to go with the video? Is it just text that we pull from the podcast transcript and so on? So, getting that down on paper is super, super important, I think, because then it gives you the ability to execute that consistent system, right? If not, it'll just be, you get in there, you record, you share a lot of great stuff, and then it kind of dies on the vine because you're not sure exactly
Yeah.
how it's going to be published. And I only
where
say
where
this
so
because
many of the podcasts where so many of the podcasts go is they just die
they
on the
just go to
vine
die. Yeah.
after like 3 or 4 episodes. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
and trust me, I can empathize with this because this is what I've done. This
Yeah.
is what we've tried before. And it's like, oh my God, that was so good. And then you kind of get done with it, and it's like, now what? Where's it going to go? And at what frequency? And to whom? And all these kind of things. So I think that's really important too, to set up ahead of time. And I think I just wanted to kind of come back to that, what you were talking about there.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful just to like talk through how we decided to come to this conclusion, right? And like how we decided even how we were going to frame this recording, this podcast, this video session, right? And it could be all of the above. We're really trying to think about RIAs, not so much in the sense of like helping RIAs with their different marketing tactics more, because there's so many financial advisor podcasts that are out there to help you with your social media or help you with YouTube or like get you started with posting a blog and like what to write about on doing a blog. We didn't want it to be like that focus. What we wanted it to be is a way for us to differentiate ourselves for people that already understand the power of content marketing and are looking for an agency to sort of take them to the next level, right? And so we wanted to use it more as like I would say bottom of the funnel type of conversation that people could listen to, that people that are actively considering Craft Impact versus other firms, right? And are trying to understand, okay, who should I invest with? Who should I go with, right? And that's where they kind of get to that bottom of the funnel. So we envision this recording being published across the different audio platforms, but where we really feel like it gets a lot of leverage is on some of our embedding some of the clips to some of our blog articles that we have right now that we send our advisors early on in the process that are actually talking with Stephen. It's like, okay, here's some questions that you should be asking financial advisor agencies. And so we said, okay, let's take that blog article, those resources, those collateral that Stephen's already using, and let's enhance them with some video conversations that can go with them. And so in that way we thought, okay, who's our audience? Let's research our audience and see kind of what they're thinking, what their main challenges are. What are they actually asking to Stephen? Let's frame the podcast around that goal. And in that way, we can create a system, a distribution system, not only just like an idea about what we're going to talk about on a week-to-week basis, but also a system that stretches across months where we have specific goals with the content that we're distributing. And then we can also think too, here's our audience, these advisors. What channels are they using? Well, there's more and more advisors every single year that have gotten on LinkedIn and used it as their own sort of content distribution system. So we want to appear in their LinkedIn feeds, right? As like that's our primary channel that we're thinking through. So let's make sure that we get some leverage out of our video conversations, clip it up into different small segments that then we can share and get in front of some of the advisors, either that Steven's already been talking to or that are discovering us for the first time. So that was kind of how we thought about it for us. When we partner with firms, we do exactly the same thing, right, Steven? Like when we're thinking about podcasts just as a tactic, not necessarily as the end all be all, but a tactic towards some sort of overarching goal for the firm. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, love it. Exactly. Yeah, I think also I mean just to reiterate, I think we're in like this clip economy on social media. I mean, LinkedIn to me
Yeah.
has become almost a buttoned up version of TikTok. It's you have
They
five
want to become TikTok, that's for
yeah,
sure. The
yeah, you have
platform.
5,
Yeah.
10, 20 seconds to capture someone's attention. And you've heard it before. Everyone says embrace video marketing. Video is so powerful. It's good for, thought leadership. It's good for brand awareness. It's good for helping close prospect. But how do you do video? How do you need a fancy setup, and do you need to get a crew in there? And we're in this clip economy. So combining those two things, embracing video marketing and knowing that we're in this clip economy, especially on social, I think it's a good channel, a good avenue to help you produce a lot of clips that are relevant to your audience and then distribute them. And then you got to focus on resharing and kind of, we call it upcycling or recycling your content so that you can, again, stay top of mind as much as you can, stay in their feeds with the existing thing that you've recorded. I think one other thing too, to go back to is like, yeah, for us, these clips are going to go on a existing blog article. So if we relate that to the financial advisory firm, even if you just look at your website and you figure out the top 5 pages, let's say, as far as traffic, that you currently have right now, and you want to enhance two things: one, the user experience on those pages, and then two, potentially the search engine result. We call them SERPs, search engine result pages. You want that page to rank higher on a Google search, for example. A good way to try to kill two birds with one stone there would be adding videos to your existing top 5 pages. And then it does a couple things. Like one, you're adding to the content. You're probably going a little bit deeper on certain topics because it's faster and it's just easier. And then two, people get a sense for who you are as a person and a real, kind of personal connection that they can't get just via text. I think it's really hard to convey that sometimes via text, whereas video is really, really powerful for that. It allows them to have a connection with you, that's a little bit better than just reading. So then by the time you actually meet face to face or via Zoom, whatever it may be, they feel like they already know you at least to a certain degree, and that's happened to me at trade shows or conferences or so on. It's like somebody will say, or I'll say to them, "Oh, I've seen your videos. I've listened to your podcast for a little while." It just is like a different level of comfort by that time. So, yeah, I think those are a few more kind of reasons to embrace it. You want to add anything else before we wrap up, Foss?
Yeah, I would just like to say, so people get excited about a podcast, right? And they may even know their target market. Like for us, it's advisors at this certain stage, right, that are predominantly RIAs. For you as an advisory firm, it may be, corporate executives in their 50s that are at a certain established mid to senior level, right? And at a certain income. For you, it might be tech professionals that are just starting out in their 30s. It could be pre retirees. I think most advisors will have an understanding of who their target market is, but then they think about a podcast and they're like, okay, where do I even get started? Like, what do I even talk about? Do I talk about current events? Do I just talk about the investments, the markets that are happening? And so we typically would recommend starting off your podcast schedule or topics in the same way you would start off all of your content. Focus on the challenges that are specific to that niche target market, right? And then build out specific content pillars, right? So if you think about like pre retirees, for instance, everything around potentially changing your investment strategy when you retire, or taxes in retirement is probably a better example, could be a content pillar, and then breaking out that content pillar into all the specific challenges or questions that they might be asking. You could build your entire content calendar around all the different questions that are being asked across all these different topics for pre-retirees, and just focus on that topic specifically for 20, 30 minutes, and you have an entire episode. Now you've differentiated yourself across, as to Steven's point, the clip economy that we have when everyone wants to become TikTok. You've established and distributed that content multiple times across all the different channels that are relevant for those pre-retirees. So just wanted to share. I think sometimes it's like overwhelming to think about how to get started. But if you think specifically about your target market, you can easily start fleshing out those challenges. And any challenge that takes longer than 5 minutes to talk through could potentially become a podcast episode as part of an overarching content strategy that leads you towards those firm goals.
Love it. Nice. Yeah. So why podcasting in 2025? To us, it's less about the podcast. It's more about what the podcast enables us to produce, and then how we use that in different channels and with our existing community, especially. Right? Is that a fair way to kind of summarize?
Yeah, love that. It's perfectly said.